Welcome everyone to the Confident Body series. This is our episode 4, and I'm excited to have Rhonda Selk in the house. So Rhonda is a proud born and raised Calgarian with roots stretching back to the city's skyline, like Calgary Towers. She transitioned from a corporate and government administrative career to entrepreneurship in 1999. Her time at a not-profit organization ignited a passion for impactful, community-focused work, eventually leading her to self-employment as a financial advisor and tax preparer. In 2011, Rhonda launched NuCurves Body Contouring, combining her love for client-centered service with innovative wellness solutions like lipolaser and tri-lipo-radiofrequency, helping clients feel confident while building lasting connections. So when I heard NuCurves, that was what got me. Like, oh my God, we need to talk about the curves. It's all about the curves. So welcome, Rhonda. And I'm going to give this to you in a minute. I like to just chit chat ahead of that. And so I always say that if I get $1 for everyone who like asks me about the bra bulge and how they can get rid of it when they put on the bra, I'll be like a triple billionaire right now, because women are always looking at that, right? And we always try to say, oh, if it's not the breast tissue, you don't have to worry about that. Mostly they're invisible, right? When you put on your clothes, you find that they're invisible, and it's just something we get used to. But I was glad when you said something around this can help, what you do can help. I'm like, okay, let's go for it. Let's have this conversation. So we want to know everything that we need to know about mastering our body curves as women. I told you, viewers, Rhonda is coming for your curves. Let's go.
Thank you. Yeah, I really wanted to, like you were saying in the introduction, find something that I could do to help people and women in particular. And it was the same year that Groupon came out, if you're familiar with that, which was just an easy way for people well, that's how I found lipolaser originally, because I went for treatments and it did help. And then I decided there was enough opportunity in Calgary because there were more lipolaser businesses in Edmonton than in Calgary at the time. So I thought Calgary needed more, and that's how it started. And since then, it's just the lab. I every so often I'll start looking, Googling body contouring Calgary. Um, there's at least 2 businesses on my short commute from my house to my office that do body contouring. So it's really taken off, and there's quite a few options. I will go through and explain the main differences, and they're generally doing the same thing, which is either shrinking fat cells or removing them permanently. And there's good and bad things for both of them. So I will go through and explain all that. But yeah, and we can target, that's the other thing, targeted inch loss and targeted skin tightening. So we're familiar with face treatments that tighten skin and, not so much reduce inches on the face, but there's a way to tighten skin on the body. And say around the bra area, we're talking, I'm thinking not so much under the armpit, but more at the back. Is that what you're thinking too?
Yes.
So that's an easy area to target. I don't have lots of pictures. I have one good one that shows that and shows what all the pictures I'm showing are with my machine. Not all of them are my clients, but they're all before and afters using my machine, which has a unique feature, which I will explain as well.
All right. So
what is body contouring? I guess anyway, I'll try to keep my thoughts and my words to be the same. Basically it's creating new curves. It's reducing inches and tightening skin in chosen areas. In the past, we had one option, and that was plastic surgery. So that was the original body contouring. Just, you had to go under the knife. And And now there's treatments with medical grades machines like what I have, which is tri-lipo radio frequency. There's also some tools. I have some that I will explain at the end. And I put in hands here because there's a newer thing out that people can do that can make quite a difference, I think, just on the stomach with getting a flatter stomach very temporarily. So I included the word hands. Okay. So as I said, plastic surgery was the only option in the past, and examples of that are liposuction and tummy tuck. Of course, facelifts was another thing people heard about. It usually that was celebrities or whatever that would do it. And it had long recovery. It was painful and expensive. Um, Sometimes people come in, clients have said to me, maybe I should just go have liposuction. And it's very drastic and and expensive. So that's why it's really good that there's lots of machines, there's lots of treatments. It can be kind of confusing actually because there's so many options. I do want to mention that I looked up the word or why the word plastic surgery even existed. Like plastic, what? That's just such a weird way to describe surgery. It's not because of the tools they use, it's because it comes from a Greek word that means to mold or shape. So that's how that came to be. Okay. So as I mentioned, with the high quality machines, they either permanently destroy fat cells, and cool sculpting is the common one that people have often heard about, and treatments like mine that shrink fat cells. So permanently destroying fat cells, cool sculpting is doing cryolipolysis, which is freezing the fat it sucks up the fat. I wish I had my graphic on here. It's sucking up the skin and the fat into an applicator and holding it in place. I think it's about 35 minutes. And the idea is that fat will freeze faster than skin, so it shouldn't cause um, what's the word? When you freeze your fat, if you're, I mean, your skin, if you're outside, I can't think of the word. And that's not good. You could permanently damage your skin. So I guess I should mention as I'm talking, there are machines in Calgary, there are businesses in Calgary that promote they have cool sculpting, and that's not true. If they don't actually have the cool sculpting machine, they have a knockoff that is not Health Canada approved. They are not properly trained, very likely. And I think they need to be very cautious because it'll be cheaper than cool sculpting, but cool sculpting, you have to be medically supervised and you have to be really careful. If someone has a hernia or something going on in their stomach, because that's the common area, and it's being sucked up because it's very intense from what I've heard, it could cause some damage. I know somebody who just had an umbilical hernia um, removed, and it's right in at the belly button. And imagine if someone has that and then they get that sucked up. So also ultrasound, laser, there are some radio frequency machines that do permanent fat cell destruction. And also there are injections for smaller areas. So it's a term, I think the main one is Kybella and Belkyra. I think that Belkyra is in Canada, the Kybella is in the US, is the same thing. And it's some kind of a solution that can be injected with a needle into small areas of the body. Chin, I think is chin. That's what that's known for.
Is that
So
also Botox? Is that what you call Botox?
no, no, no. Botox is temporarily making the nerves not work, I believe, so that they don't move. So that's different. But it is, I think usually it can be done by clinics that have Botox. Yeah, I'm not 100% on, yeah, Botox, so someone, if you've seen celebrities or people show, not even celebrities, people showing like they can no longer raise their eyebrows because they've had Botox and it temporarily stops them from having that expression. And then there's fillers, which fill in lines. Like if I was if I was flush with money, I would get them in here. So it temporarily fills it in. So that's, there are a lot of the machines that are medical grade are in high-end medi spas. They're usually sometimes overseen by a doctor, and they have nurses, because nurses are the only ones that can do the injections. So that does include the Velkyra that I was talking about,
Okay.
Botox fillers. Body contouring is a way to have targeted inch loss and skin tightening. And it's typically, in the past, the only option for people to have body contouring, which isn't the term it was called, is plastic surgery. So that, of course, is done in a surgical clinic by a doctor. Now, in the last 15 years or so, it's really taken off where there's medical grade machines like the one I have called tri-lipo radio frequency. And then other options are tools and hands, which I will go through closer to the end. So plastic surgery, in the past, as I mentioned, the options were, or examples were liposuction and tummy tucks and facelifts. So on the body, people would have liposuction, probably most areas of the body. I had a client early on who had a couple of treatments, and she told me she was a little bit uneven. She was on her stomach, and she thought it was from lipolaser, which was my first machine. And I said, I don't think it could cause that. It's not that intense. And she was from South America, and I said, have you had liposuction? And she said, yes. So I said, okay, well, liposuction, if you can imagine, I've got a picture later, is this cannula that goes in and out, and it's not even, it's sort of wavy, I think. So it would be really hard to have complete evenness from liposuction, I think, on any area of the body. I mean, of course, surgeons would be very talented, but I think the concern, which is the same for any permanent fat cell destruction that I'll talk about in a minute, is if someone gains any weight and they're filling up their fat cells, they're going to have unevenness, very likely. Um, Surgery includes a long recovery, it's painful, and it's expensive. So today we have lots of options to permanently destroy fat cells or to shrink them, which is what I do. Cool sculpting is the one most people have heard about. It's heavily advertised. It's very expensive, and it comes with good and bad points. Um, I'll explain in a second. So ultrasound, laser, radio frequency, there are machines that do permanently destroy fat cells. And then for smaller areas, there can be injections. So it's usually done by a nurse who also does Botox and fillers. And it's a solution that destroys fat cells. So I think a common kind of original area is the chin. I think the treatment in Canada is called Velkyra. In the States, it's called Kybella. And I believe actually it might be possible to do that in the bra area. I've had clients that want to do cool sculpting, and I've said to them, if you want to do it, and I would include the injections, come and have some treatments with me first, because if you're shrinking fat cells before you destroy them, you will probably cover more fat cells per like square inch or whatever. So I'm sure that could be helpful too. So I just thought of that maybe perhaps that's an option for someone who wants the bra area and wants more than what they can get from what a treatment like mine. Okay, so I'll just mention again to add to what I was saying. If someone has liposuction or something like cool sculpting, they are going very likely they're going to have, it's not going to be perfectly even. there's going to be pockets. And there's another machine out there, I can't think of the name. And it's these little, they say it's like the size of a business card, and they have, or a credit card, and they have, I think there's four, and there's quite a large area around it. And they put it on the stomach. Well, there's lots of area around that that's not going to be covered. It's not going to be really even. So imagine if you have you destroy some fat cells, and then, with aging, menopause, you gain some weight. Well, if you don't have fat cells because they've been destroyed, your body will fill up fat cells somewhere else. And you may get some um, bigger areas that you don't want. You might be trading one problem for another. So I just say be very cautious about destroying fat cells. Make sure you go to a provider of any of these things, especially the Cool Sculpt. If it's not Cool Sculpting, if it's not the brand name machine that says Cool Sculpting, they are using a knockoff machine, and very likely are not properly trained, and could potentially do some damage because there's lots going on in this, especially the stomach. For example, an umbilical hernia, which is at the belly button. I know somebody who just had a hernia repair for that area. If they had one and someone didn't know and just started sucking up their skin and fat and included a hernia, I think they could really cause some damage. So, not to mention the fact if they keep it on too long, they could be damaging the skin because it's sucking up skin and fat at the same time with cryolipolysis. And it's the idea is that the fat will freeze faster than the skin, and then gradually over time the fat cells will break up and leave the body. And so it takes 3 or 4 months for the full result. Someone may not know the full effect. My treatments are like literally they can leave often measuring smaller, and within 5 to 7 days, that's the result of a treatment. So I'll talk about that more. I'm realizing I have lots to say, Pacola. Lipolaser versus laser lipo. I get this question quite a bit. So as mentioned, the words are used interchangeably, but in my world, lipolaser is laser that shrinks fat cells, and that's what I've offered in the past. I have the machine. I don't, did I show that? Yeah, that's my machine. It's a terrible picture, but I use it a little bit. It's not as strong as the one I have, the tri-lipo. Laser lipo is laser assisted liposuction. So that's what's used by plastic surgeons. Oh, here's my picture. So that is a picture of plastic surgery. That's liposuction. If you haven't, I like watching those shows on TV that show surgeries,
Yes, I
and they're
remember
pretty
watching
graphic.
a couple of them. Yes. Hmm.
So, it's, there's the cannula, and this thing here. And as I mentioned, it's going in and out. And so I think it's quite hard to, because they'll have one incision point and then go back and forth in and out. I don't think they're necessarily going to be perfectly even, which may not be a problem for a long time. But if there's weight gain later and we don't get to decide where our body will store fat, then it could be a problem.
Mhm.
Sorry. Okay. So lipo laser, I found this graphic years ago. It's the same for my other treatment. So we have fat cells. They look like clusters of grapes, and I'll show in a minute. They're under the skin. Lipolaser and my treatments, they open up the pores of the fat cell. So temporarily, the wall of the fat cell falls away. It opens up, and then the fat cells are kind of liberated. So the liquid fat inside the fat cells is now in a state where it can leave your body. And so I'll explain what I do so that I can help move the fluid out of the fat cells, leaving smaller fat cells, right? Shrinking fat cells, which is different than destroying them.
Mhm.
So my machine is tri-lipo. Um, I have more images, but basically there's an applicator here. I put glycerin on the skin and I warm it up. And then I turn on, so it's for targeted fat and cellulite reduction. It also tightens the skin and firms it. And there's also muscle toning. So there's a close-up of the machine. The biggest applicator that I use mainly is for bigger areas. They look the same, but they're different sizes. This middle one is I use say on arms and chin. So what's happening when I put the applicator on again, I put glycerin on the skin, that's the conductor. I'm moving it back and forth. This is our skin. We have outer and inner layers of skin. That's the epidermis and the dermis. Then we have our fat cell layer. This is the yellow part, and then we have muscle. So what's happening when I'm warming up the skin is I'm opening up the pores of the fat cells, like I showed. And then once we're up to temperature, so the skin is getting warmer, but it's still comfortable. I'm not burning. It's not painful. A lot of people say it's relaxing. Then I turn on the muscle activation. This is unique to trilipo radio frequency. So this is showing how the energy is it's called dynamic muscle activation. It's going to contract the muscle to stimulate the movement of the fluid that's been released from the fat cells into your lymphatic system, which is our body's natural way of eliminating. So we are going to pee and sweat the fat cell contents out of the body. And I don't always say this, but I've had clients if I do tell them, especially on the stomach, if there's quite a bit to reduce. If they look in the toilet, they may see an oily residue, and that's proving the fat cell contents are leaving the bodies, as I mentioned, through pee and sweat. And of course, you need to be drinking lots of healthy fluid alongside this to help move it out of the body. What you're left with is smaller fat cells, which leads to inch loss. So I don't have another image of that, but you get the idea, right? So we're not destroying the fat cells, we're shrinking them. So areas that can be treated, abdomen, which is the most common and honestly gets the fastest results. Thighs, inner, outer, back, and sides. We can do the whole area. Bra bulge and love handles. So that's where oftentimes I do the combination because if I'm already back there, basically, then we do the combination. It's good for me to not stay in one area the whole time. I kind of need, I need to move it around a little bit. So I do love handles at the same time. And by the way, when I turn on muscle activation, I have a big range of how I set it. So it's at 0 while I'm warming up the skin, and then I can go from 0 to 99. So I just work with the client to find uh, the the setting that's comfortable, kind of at the edge of their tolerance level. I like to say some people, honestly, the more there is to lose, probably the more tolerated it is. If it's closer to the muscle, it gets a little less comfortable. So we just find what's a good setting so that they can tolerate it and understand what's happening and what's working, so that they get the best result. And usually, once I'm up to the temperature and we're at the setting that's comfortable, then it takes about 10 more minutes. So perhaps up to 20 minutes per area is depending on the area. If it's a small area, less, bigger area, more. So that's kind of another question. Arms and chin are other areas I can do. Arms are more stubborn. I have a little more I could say about that, but if someone if they're able to make a muscle and there's not a lot of skin hanging down, then they can get results. If the skin is already kind of past its prime and it can be tightened to a point, but if it's the older we get, the more skin sags as we lose collagen and elastin. By the way, the heat from the machine is also helping generate new collagen and elastin. So that's why we get the firming. So areas we can treat, this is just a graphic showing. I personally don't do the face, and it says neck, but I do chin. I'm not an esthetician. I'm not trained to do the face. And you have to be careful. You don't want to reduce certain areas, say around the cheeks or whatever. Okay. So basically any area that can be pinched can be treated. Um, so bra bulge, so is a pinchable area, right? And if it's bulging as well, I guess with clothes, then that's an area that can be treated. So here's just another graphic showing that. Anything that's pinchable, um, so bra bulge is kind of protected up here, but there's probably a little bit there too, right? And as I mentioned, if I'm doing the bra area, I usually do the full area, love handles as well. Again, arms, if that might be anyway, pinchable. So I also treat cellulite, which is, I think, mainly or only on the thigh area. So cellulite is enlarged fat cells. They're pushing up against the skin, and that's creating the ripple kind of effect. The the causes are lifestyle, genetics, and gender. So typically, men don't have cellulite that I know of. They store their fat differently. So women are blessed with the ability to create cellulite, and it's not just women who are overweight at all. I think, as I mentioned, it's genetics, and the good news is there's something that can be done, and it takes longer. It's not a couple of treatments, but I'm also going to talk about a few things they can use at home as well for that. And this is just showing the thigh area being treated with Trilipo. So here's some pictures. So this is after 4. That's pretty impressive. These aren't all my clients. Um, it's also showing some inch loss. It's definitely smoothing out the skin, and it's also reducing inches. This is a close-up of that one, so you can really see how much of a difference that's made, hey? Another one, smoothing, firming, shrinking the fat cells, tightening the skin. Another one, that's the same person, just from a different angle. And another person, that's a 6 sessions for that. And another one. Okay. This is before and after 8. I'm sure there's some weight loss alongside that one. So as I mentioned, there's the skin tightening effect by creating new collagen and elastin. Okay, the skin tight. Okay, so this is an extreme picture, but it honestly is Trilipo. And really my favorite clients are women who've had children and their skin has been stretched from pregnancy, and they really don't feel like they've got their body back, and they're just looking for something to make a difference. Um, and that is showing what a difference it can make. Because it's tightening the skin, generating new collagen elastin, and it doesn't say how many treatments with that. I would guess probably 6 to 8. And then I'm going to talk about some tools people can use at home to maintain it. And it doesn't have to be a permanent condition, basically. This one is kind of blurry, but that is directly before and directly after. This is another one I found showing the skin tightening effect. This, another one, so not so much cellulite, but it's showing the skin tightening. And this is one of my clients after 3. So you can see how much tighter the skin is around her knees.
Wow.
Abdomen. So this is for more inch loss. This one, I should mention too briefly, I don't know a lot about it, but it's also reducing fluid. So there's something people are using with, I think I can't think of the term, but that's what they can go and have a body sculpting. It's more of a body sculpting than body contouring is the way it's promoted. And it's reducing the fluid temporarily. So that's what the other thing that the Trilipo is doing. It's shrinking fat cells, tightening skin, and it's moving the lymphatic fluid to reduce the overall appearance. Here's a client, not a client, sorry, a picture of someone using my machine after 3. So that's in centimeters, quite a difference. She also had some weight reduction, it says. This was my client after 3. I know she was working out, going to the gym, watching her food. Perhaps there was some inch loss, some weight loss with that as well as inch loss. And that's the result. Another image I found using Trilipo. This person looks like she had her thighs and her stomach treated, maybe even the left handle area. This was, I believe, after 8. That I'm not sure how many, 5 or 6 probably. Here's another one. And I do treat men, so I put a picture of a man in here.
That's good to know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've got one starting this weekend. Inner thighs, that's an area that comes up this time of year because of the, not wearing pants or nylons or anything, and the rubbing of the thighs. So if someone has rubbing is so uncomfortable, and doing some treatments, inner thighs responds faster than outer thighs. It's more pinchable and it responds faster. So that's an area a client can come in and just do the inner thigh. This is another one. Arms. Um, so here's an image. It is better. It is a harder area to treat, but I can treat it, and it does take some time. And I do recommend a tool after that they can use at home. So here's the bra bulge and love handle area. Here is a client wearing a different bra, so I'm sure that made a difference on this image. This is the one I was talking about. So, if she was wearing a bra, I'm sure there'd be quite a bit, depending on the bra, right, that would be sticking out. So do you want to talk about that a bit, about what you do with bras and what you recommend clients wear if they have a concern with bulging?
Well, with the bulges, from our side of things, there's nothing much we can do about that except to make sure that your breast tissue is not trapped under the between the underwire and your chest. Really, that's what we do. Now, some have bulges, and this has to do with the type of breasts that some have or how the breasts have developed. So some grow to the side; they are side set. So you find that okay, when you put on some bras, you find that you have that. Some have that bulge already over their breast tissue. So so it's about looking for something that is comfortable for them, because if it isn't, the bra will keep rubbing on that side of things for them. But by and large, the largest part of it that I have observed is the bulge in the back. So the bulge is on the 2 sides in the back. Usually that's where the main concern is. And for that, we don't have anything to do with that.
Mm,
We can't do anything
right,
about that. Yes.
right. Other than like a wider bra that would
Even
cover
a
more, I guess.
wider bra, sometimes a bra with a wider band, a wider wing may help with support, but not with the bulge. Like sometimes the bulge gets covered and then it's uncomfortable, right? Sometimes
Mm,
it's just, so our focus really is usually on the breast support itself, and then if you
right.
put something that covers the bulge a bit, oh, we'll say that's a good plus. Well, it's
Mm,
not the expectation here.
mhm. Okay, so yes, I think it's
But
another good pinchable area that can be treated with Trilipo.
this is beautiful. I really love that something can be done about that, because
Yes.
for now it's more like, oh, nothing can really be done about that. We all have
Mm,
it, and things like that. But it's good that
mm,
a non-invasive way, right? But there's an
yes.
invasive way rather, to address this. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, yeah. There's hope. Doesn't have to be super expensive or painful at all.
Yes.
And here's another one. So this, I assume there's some weight loss here as well. But yeah, look at the difference.
Mm, yes.
Chin, This is a male, so it doesn't have a lot, but you can see, it really made a difference.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm going to go into frequently asked questions. What is happening during a treatment? So as I mentioned, and by the way, I always offer clients to do a before picture with their phone so they can have it. And then I say, don't look at it. Don't expect a fast change, or look at it and not feel good about themselves. This isn't to have anyone feeling bad about the way they look. It's just to have a a starting point. And then, as I mentioned, I put glycerin on the skin, that I've warmed it up, and then I start gliding the applicator along the area. Once I've got it up to temperature that's warm enough that it's opened up the pores of the fat cells, then I turn on the muscle activation, and we find the kind of the top of the comfort or the tolerance level where we can get the best results to help move that fluid from the fat cells into the lymphatic system so a client can pee and sweat it out, leaving a smaller fat cell that leads to inch loss. And the skin tightening effect also leads to inch loss. I didn't mention that before. How long does a treatment take? Depending on the area. Usually, the first one is longer because I go over and explain everything. There's a consent form, and then pictures. And then I didn't mention I measure before at the beginning of every treatment. And then so probably an hour for the first one, and then 30 to 40 minutes for one area.
Mhm.
Will it hurt? As I mentioned, we kind of want to get to the top of the tolerance level, but I can certainly adjust it, and it can still be effective. Sometimes, and I always record the settings, so perhaps at the next session, the second one, we can go a little bit more because the client knows what to expect and can tolerate a little bit more. When will I notice results? This is a very common question, and I say it depends. Um, I like to compare it to weight loss. If someone lost 2 pounds, would they notice? They lost 5 pounds, would they notice? Um, so that's why I suggest, not everyone wants them, but I suggest pictures. So we have measuring that I do at the beginning of every session, how you're feeling in your clothes, especially in the abdomen, probably the bra bulge area as well. If they're looking to see, how much is sticking out of the same bra, that would be a really good way to compare the difference.
Yes.
Same pair of jeans, something like that, where if it's feeling looser, that's a way to tell. And then doing an after picture and seeing it side by side. So there's the three ways. How I measure, if I'm doing the abdomen, I usually do right at the belly button and 1 and 2 inches above and every inch below to depending on the shape of the skin or the stomach. And then I'm comparing. So when I measure at the beginning of the next session in the same spot, usually it's a quarter, 3/8, sometimes more. Honestly, it depends on how much there is to lose. If someone is bigger, they can probably lose more per treatment because there's more to reduce each time.
Mhm.
So if it was a 1/4 inch, and I'm measured in 6 spots, so a quarter less in each of those spots, a quarter times 6 is 1.5. So there's 1.5 inches reduced in the band from 2 inches above to 3 inches below the belly button per treatment. So 1.5 inches times 4 is 6. So after 4 treatments, 6 inches. It's not always equal, right? Say above the belly button, maybe it's a quarter, an eighth, something like that. Um, After usually the first one has a better result. Sometimes the lower abdomen has more inch loss than the upper. It really depends on the client. I like to point out, time of the month. If someone
Mhm.
is PMSing, they'll measure smaller, but it's temporary. It doesn't mean that the treatment didn't work. It means temporarily you're measuring more because you're bloated. Did you have a salty meal? Are you constipated? Are you are you bloating? Is there something you're eating that's causing bloating? Sometimes it's obvious and a client will know, oh yeah, I had pizza last night. And sometimes it's I don't know. Or
Mhm.
maybe they don't even think they're bloating because that's just their normal state. They just they're reacting to a combination of foods. Maybe they have some digestive issues, and they just are feeling bloated. They start out in the morning and their stomach is flatter, and then as the day goes on, their stomach is bigger. I've had clients say they look pregnant. I did a blog post on that on my website, and I talk about that because that is digestion. That is what you're eating and how your body's responding to that. You, it's not because you're fat. It's because your body is reacting to what you're eating and is creating bloating. So the few things they can do, I don't know that a regular family doctor knows a lot about it. Of course, a dietitian's nutritionist, and it could be just something as simple as starting with a digestive enzyme and one that has a lot of different types of enzymes in it to help digest different kinds of food. And I have more I could say about that, but the main ones are wheat and dairy, corn, soy, eggs. Some people bloat after they eat beef. Of course, beans or something like that, cruciferous foods. So just there's a lot going on in the stomach more than say thighs or bra bulge area that affect the measurements in the stomach. If someone were to measure themselves throughout the day, of course, they'd measure more in the stomach, based assuming they've been eating and drinking, and they would weigh more.
Yeah.
So, there's lots of variations on that can affect measuring, but that's just the average. How many treatments will I need? Um, I like to say it depends on where you're starting at, what you want to achieve, and how you respond. I I I offer an initial treatment for $99 that gives a client the opportunity to see what it's about, talk to me, get questions answered, and then do a treatment and know what it's like and how it feels. And then I encourage clients to do a package of 4 because I think unless they just have a small area, usually on this, like say the lower abdomen, they're going to need at least 5 treatments total to make any significant change. Um, and I would say the same for the bra bulge area because, if there's very much there, if you can pinch, more than an inch, you probably need at least 5 treatments, and that can make quite a difference. If just like losing weight, if you only lost a couple of pounds, you wouldn't notice much in the fit of your clothes. So give it a chance. I do talk about my pricing in a minute here. Will the treatments help me lose weight? A little, not significantly. So we are reducing the fat cells. There's calories in the fat cells. And so with lipolaser, I was told in my training, 400 to 500 calories could be reduced per treatment. I would think, but they didn't have the numbers with trilipo that it would be more than that because it's a more intense treatment. But on its own, it's not really weight loss, it's inch loss. So, which is a little bit hard to get your head wrapped around, perhaps, especially on the abdomen. You could look like you've lost weight because you are measuring smaller. So it's on its own, it's for inch loss with a little bit of help with weight loss. So, of course, anything else you're doing to lose weight alongside will help you get better results. Are the results permanent? No. It really depends on you. It can be, or at least long lasting, as long as you maintain your weight. So again, we don't get to decide where our body holds or fills up fat cells. And oftentimes, unfortunately, it's those areas we don't want to get bigger because that's why someone, say, is coming in to have their stomach reduced. So healthy lifestyle, maintain weight, and the results are long lasting.
Gotcha.
Is this the same as cool sculpting? No, as I mentioned, that's permanent fat cell destruction. What's the difference between the treatments I offer, lipolaser and trilipo, which is radio frequency? I have this graphic here. I'll just point out the parts in that I've highlighted in yellow. Lipolaser and trilipo shrink fat cells. Cool sculpting removes them. If weight is gained, fat cells increase likely in the same areas. So because our body's favorite areas, right? Fat cells with cool sculpting and cool sculpting and any other treatment that permanently destroys fat cells, it would be the same thing. The fat cells increase in the same or another area. There's still some fat cells left. I don't think they're completely gone, say if someone did them on the stomach, but your body, it's less known. And with time and with aging, someone could have bigger areas than they used to have because they permanently reduced their fat cells in the area they had their treatment. My treatments tighten skin, cool sculpting does not, and it can make it worse because they've lost the volume that they had. That may not be a problem if someone is younger or they have firm skin. If someone is older, just with age, they have looser skin, they may end up having it look worse. I had a client years ago who'd had cool sculpting on her arm. She was in her 60s and she came to see me and she was mad because her arms looked worse. She'd reduced the volume in her arms, but not her skin was hanging now. It was looser and it looked worse. And she was quite upset. Um, and I wasn't able to help her because it was kind of too late because her skin was sagging and because with aging we lose that the collagen and elastin. My treatment, not some for cellulite, Trilipo does a very good job. I would really challenge anyone to find a better treatment for cellulite, especially at the price. Reduce stretch marks, my treatments do mainly because if there's volume reduction, the skin won't look as stretched. I actually now have a product for stretch marks that I haven't used yet. If anyone wants to come in and do a trial, we can do that for free because I would like to try it out. But it's more because the skin isn't as stretched that it would reduce the stretch marks. For sure, cool sculpting does not treat that. By the way, some people even do. They can go and have tattooing on their stretch marks. The tattoo artist can match their skin tone to their skin on the stretch marks, and if it's really bothering someone, that's a more permanent solution. My treatments also are very fast. The results can be within five days. Cool sculpting and those other treatments that permanently destroy fat cells, it can take 2 to 4 months for the full result. My treatments are not painful or slightly uncomfortable. Cool sculpting, I've had clients that have had it done and they said it was quite uncomfortable and sometimes even painful at the end. So, you know, that's that's that. Cool sculpting, temporary numbness, swelling, bruising, they have that on their forms. My treatment, especially Trilipo, excuse me, depending on the area and the size, I start $99 for the first introductory treatment, and then usually it's 125, sometimes more, depending again on the size, or of course if we're doing more than one area. Cool sculpting, I'm basing this on the stomach, are going to be charged well over $1,000 per, and I've had clients come in when they've got, say they've got perhaps 20 extra pounds, mostly on their stomach, and they were quoted $6,000 to $8,000 for cool sculpting. So it can be very expensive.
What?
Yeah, yeah, because it's like cool sculpting is they do one. I mean, I guess they can do more than one area at a time, but it's like in chunks. So if someone has
Mm,
has a fuller abdomen, they're probably going to need it in 6 spots, like three above and three below. And
mhm.
each of those spots, I believe, is $750. Maybe they do a little bit of a deal, and if someone has much to lose, they'll be told they need to do it at least twice. So yeah, it can be very expensive. What can I do to maintain my results? So I'm going to talk about my tools. So I mentioned when you and I did our other chat, I talked about liquid collagen, and I think that's a really good option to help, from the inside out, to help your body create collagen again, or at least produce it because you've consumed it, and because we lose that as with age. The other things, I think I've got. Okay, let me talk about fascia for a sec. So I don't know a lot. I'll just say fascia is connective tissue, and it's more common to hear about it. So if you can imagine meat that's got that thin layer of kind of a white tissue, white membrane, that is fascia. And we have it, humans have it as well. It's above and below the fat cell layer. It's also above and below the muscle layers, and it surrounds all our organs, muscles, and bones. This is just stuff I've learned. And this graphic I found shows, so here's our skin, and then what's called the superficial fatty layer, superficial fascia, and then deeper fatty layer, so more fat cells between the fat cell layers, and then more fascia. You can also see it over here that it's kind of in a cluster around the fat cells. So there's tools. The original one is called Fascia Blaster that helps kind of break it up and smooth it out. This is my I guess this is mine. I think it's not showing up really great. It's the face blaster. I got it on Amazon. I'll put in some links after, and it's really good for small areas. You can see that it's got these um, little, what's the word? I can't think of the word, but it's breaking up the fascia. So the idea is to rub it on the area, say on the arm, and to do it really brisk and fast, and then it's going to kind of warm up your skin, and then you can go deeper, and you can help smooth out the fascia, which will help smooth out, alongside shrinking the fat cells, tightening the skin. You can smooth the fascia, and that will help keep your skin firm. I've got a couple other ones. This I got on Amazon as well, and I don't think it feels as great, but it's a much cheaper. And then I started using this one at the end of treatments with clients. Sorry, I think this is kind of blurry. Is that better?
Just
Um,
move it a bit closer to the camera. Closer.
okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yes.
And yeah, so it's got those same similar claws as the one I was showing. This is the original one that I was showing.
Mhm.
It's claw, that's the word I was looking for, claws. And it's bigger, so it would be good for thighs, I think. And it's quite it's very sturdy. I don't think you wouldn't want to use it on, say, the chin, perhaps the arms. It's pretty big. Um, it's also got these ends here. So especially this one. So, and if, I always share information, links, the fascia blaster lady, her name's Ashley Black, and she talks about the nugget. So that's the kind of the equivalent of this. So if someone has an area that's kind of painful and tight, they can kind of poke into that area and not move it around, but just kind of hold it and kind of do a little circle and help open it up. It's important to be warm, so I always recommend do it at the end of a shower, and you don't want to go super deep. I was actually doing my thighs with this, and my leg, it started to ache, and I didn't even put the two together, but I think I was just going too deep. If you go too deep, you'll also bruise, which is kind of normal with fascia blasting, but you don't want to do it so much that because you're not supposed to do it if you're very bruised, because you need your time for your body to heal. Um, and the original fascia blaster is a bigger one like this with claws on a stick. And, it's a lot of work. You need to be like the way she was doing it when I first looked. She was kind of in her own sauna, and she uses oil, and, it's lots of rubbing. It's lots of work to, um, to do. And she's got tons of tools now. But I think in general, if you wanted to maintain, like really once you're kind of at a good spot, you want to just keep your skin more firm, something like that could help maintain. And then there's some firming creams. I'm gonna put some links to some of the Amazon products that I think can help. So I don't want this clients to think that they can only maintain by coming in for treatments. There's quite a bit they can do. I had a client tell me, and I thought it was brilliant. I hadn't thought of it. So she wants to work on her thighs. Um, so what she did after her shower, because again, you want your skin to be warm, so you can go deeper, just like hot yoga. You can go deeper when in your poses when your skin is warm and your body's warmed up, your muscles and everything. So she would, right after out of the shower, she'd dry off and then she'd put on some leggings and then she would use a tool. So this is the one she bought that I got on Amazon. And these things turn. And so she was using on that. And I thought that was really smart because it would be hard to, if you're in the shower, I say, use soap to be the glider, but I'll say on the thighs, you really, unless you step out of the shower and oil up yourself and lay on your bed, you're going to have a hard time
Mm.
um, gliding something over it. But if you put leggings on, then and then use something like this, you can still get good good coverage. And you only probably need to do it for a minute or so in each spot. And just it's more and also it's important to be consistent, of course. So that's a really good tip, I think, for anyone that wants to use it at home. Just there's information if you want to contact me, and I can send you an email that just guides you through some of the main points that she has, and then links to her website. Um, that's another really good way to maintain results or work on a different area on your own. When is a good time to have treatment? So of course, anytime. Just like it's when is a good time to get a new bra? Anytime, right?
Yeah.
Um, before an event, right? So if you're feeling, or you're just feeling uncomfortable. So if you want to lose some inches, if you're already dieting and exercising, you're not getting the results you want, or you want to increase the results you're already getting. It goes so well with doing this at the same time. It's also a motivator because if you're doing all that work, you're dieting, you're exercising, you don't want to. It's more incentive, right, to maintain because if you're doing treatments and you're spending money, that you want to get the best results. So working out, if you want to fit into an outfit, um, you have an outfit in your closet, but you can't fit into it because you gained some weight. This is a great time. If you're going on a holiday and you're going to be showing more skin, you're going to be on the beach, or you're going to a wedding. You're in the wedding. You're the bride. You're the mother of the bride or a bridesmaid. That's an often a time that I have clients coming in. Graduations, reunions. Can you think of anything else?
I mean, you've said it, weddings, graduations, yeah, girls' trips,
Yeah, yeah.
red carpet events. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Honeymoon. This is my honeymoon picture.
Oh, wow.
After pregnancy. So we talked about and no longer breastfeeding. So after pregnancy, some women, their skin bounces back. They don't even look like they've ever been pregnant. And other women, they are just not able to get their shape back. And it doesn't mean they've done anything wrong. It just means, probably genetically that they are not, their skin is just not going to return to the shape that they had. And there is something they can do about that. So when you realize summer is coming and your winter body is out of control, that's a great time to come and see me. But keep in mind, before the glorification of skinny, there was something called sexy. This is Marilyn Monroe, and looking at her, I think at the time, she was considered just the epitome of sexy and beautiful. She was certainly not a big person. I've heard like her average size was 12 or 14, but
Mm.
I think I don't know that that's true, but she wasn't skinny by any means. Treat your body like it belongs to someone you love. This isn't I'm this is about creating new curves and feeling better in and out of clothes, feeling good in your lingerie. It's not to help anyone feel bad about the way they look. It's just to enhance their figure, create some new curves, just learn some things they can do on their own at home, and wear the clothes that they already have. It's not buy some new bras because we all need new bras, but perhaps there's clothes in your closet that you can't fit into that you would love to be able to again, and NuCurves body contouring can help you with that. And I think that's, oh, and here I am. This is, so my business is right on Kensington Road, which is between 14th Street and Crowchild Trail. It's pretty close to downtown, but not in the heart of Kensington, free parking, and I'm on the second floor.
Okay. Thank you, Rhonda. I have, before we wrap things up, I have a quick question, or rather
Sure.
two. The first one, you answered one of them earlier on, so I'll skip that. But are there age restrictions to this? So
Age restrictions?
yes, when should you
Um,
do this?
in general, 18 and over. If someone, a few times I've had a mother and daughter come in, and the daughter's a teenager. So with parental permission, then they can have the treatment.
Okay. So yeah, I get the permission part of things. I'm also thinking around the sensitivity of skin, of the skin too, right? Maybe some people are more prone to burns than
Mm,
not, and then age plays a role in that, right?
right.
So something like that. Okay.
Yeah. So that is part of my consent form is, does anyone have like an extra sensitivity to heat
Mm,
or a diminished perception of heat? Or are they taking medication that causes that? So, it's very rare. I can't say I've ever had anyone say that. So, but it is something to consider. Um, if someone's, if they're just prone to sunburning or something, that's different. By the way, um, with my lipo laser, I would have some clients that had dark skin who could not tolerate the laser at the highest setting, because the laser is reacting to the pigment in their skin. It's also true of anyone who's had tattoos and has dark pigment in their tattoos. So that was a factor for lipolaser, but it's not for radiofrequency. Radiofrequency can be done on any skin type.
okay, great. And I also love that you mentioned things that could help with results, such as losing weight, just having that on the side. Like it helps a lot when you're losing weight actively, when you do the body contouring. My question
Right.
then would be, are there other preparatory activities or regimen that would ensure or not necessarily guarantee, but that could help with results?
Mm.
You talked about liquid collagen, for instance. I'm thinking that
Oh
might
yeah.
be something. Should you be on a particular diet? Is it better in the summer, in the winter?
Oh,
So things like that.
okay. So time of year really just depends on the client. But I'm glad you asked because so even if someone isn't wanting to lose weight necessarily, they just want to have targeted inch loss. It is important to be drinking lots of healthy fluid and to do some form of cardio. With Trilipo, it's within 4 hours of, sorry, 24 hours of a treatment. With lipolaser, it was 4 hours. So the exercise is to help increase the movement of the lymphatic fluid and just help move things along. So water, some form of cardio, and just overall healthy lifestyle. So if someone is able to maintain their weight, they should be able to maintain their results.
Nice. I love that. If you're able to maintain your weight, you're able to maintain your results. Yeah, that's a treat.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, you can stop sharing now. So let's wrap things up.
All right, thank you.
You want to stop sharing?
Stop sharing. Okay. Mm, mm, mm.
So that
I
was
did have a lot to say.
Oh, you did. That was very, very interesting, and I love all the information because for me, it's almost like not leaving anything on any stone unturned, in finding out what you want to get into, what you want to do. So you've actually just broken that down in a way that it's really helpful for anyone who would like to do this, and that's why I really like that. So you have heard it all from Rhonda. We are coming for your curves, okay? All the
Yes.
links will be included in this video. You likely see this on YouTube. You're likely watching from YouTube. Just check the links below in the description for how to connect with Rhonda, more information about what she does, and you can also connect with her directly. So if you've missed the past episodes of the Confident Body series, you want to go back and check that. I think the last time we talked about what you need to know about breast augmentation and reduction. We have
Mhm.
quite a number of topics in that series. So watch this one, connect, like, share, subscribe as we bring more things your way to help you live a more confident life. So till next time, remember, keep the faith. Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you so much, Rhonda, for this time.
Thank you very much.
Love it.
Thank you.